But do you think that central banks still have the power behind this stock market?
I think that power is running its course. I like to say that we injected cocaine and heroin into the system, and now we're maintaining it on Ritalin. Cocaine and heroin into the system, and now we're maintaining it on Ritalin. Cocaine and heroin into the system, and now we're maintaining it on Ritalin. How's that?
The reason that you catch people's attention is because you say explicitly, you say in words, what they had assumed that the Federal Reserve was doing.
Right.
When you say we injected cocaine and heroin into the system,
right,
did you, within those conversations, say, let's inflate the stock market explicitly?
There was a discussion about the cost benefits of QE, and the major objective was to create a wealth effect. The major objective was to create a wealth effect. The major objective was to create a wealth effect. The major objective was to create a wealth effect. So we drove rates to zero. We actually drove, if you flatten the yield curve, interest rates to the lowest yields in 239 years of history. When you do that, what you do is you change the way you discount future cash flows and future earnings. The market took off the first week of March of 2009 when we made it very clear we had already doubled the size of our balance sheet and we were going to do more. And that was the tripwire, or at least the ignition, of this great stock market rally, in addition to the fact that rates had already been cut to zero at the end of the year before, December of 2008, which, by the way, I did vote for, despite what people like to say.
We spoke to you, I think it was at the end of January, and at that time the markets were falling, and I asked you then whether, if the markets fell heavily, whether you would take responsibility for that, or whether the Fed should take responsibility for that. Now that you've had a couple of months to think about that, how do you feel? Is there a symmetry to responsibility from the Fed, do you think?
I think there's a disconnect. I think there's a disconnect. I think there's a disconnect. I think there's a disconnect between what markets are doing and what the real economy is doing. The real economy is actually doing quite well this late in the cycle.
Right. So this is the second disconnect. You connected the first, and now it's happened again.
That's correct. And I think we're going to have a payback. We're going to have a payback. We're going to have a payback for having levitated markets, all tradable markets.